one last time before the NFL season begins, which, by the way, guys, we made it. Shout out you. Drop a like because it is the NFL season now, and we get to actually win money in our Dynasty Leagues. Make sure you're subscribed if you haven't. We're trying to get to 15K before opening day. And we're going to make it. We might already be there, but you can help us get there by subscribing if you play Dynasty Fantasy Football, because we are Dynasty junkies, biggest Dynasty junkies you'll find. But let's talk about our updated 2024 Dynasty rookie rankings. This has been a really fun rookie class. We've loved covering them. This has been one of the best rookie classes from top to bottom I've ever covered. Let's start at top. With that being said, Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison Jr. are the top two rookies from the start and to the finish. Untouchable. Caleb Williams looks amazing in the preseason. Marvin Harrison Jr. is thought to be ready for elite production in the NFL right now. That means on your Dynasty team, Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison Jr. are guys that you can hold this year. They could be productive for you, and they're going to maintain their value into next season. So from a Dynasty Fantasy Football standpoint, these are two of the best cornerstone assets in all of Dynasty Fantasy Football. If you have these guys, congratulations. You won the lottery with your rookie picks, most likely. Let's go down to the A tier.
Yeah, we've got Jaden Daniels and Malik Neighbors in this tier. Jaden Daniels has solidified the starting job. Not a surprise. I will say I'm so freaking tired of the musical chairs that all of these teams are playing with their rookie quarterbacks. And are they going to start? Are they not? Are they ready? Are they not? Just put them on the freaking field and let them play, because at the end of the day, you're not going to know what they're going to do until they actually play. And every single one of these teams is not super great, and they're only going to be better if you have, your franchise quarterback playing for you. Jaden Daniels is going to be starting. It's exciting. He has a lot of rushing upside. There's a reason he's a quarterback too in this class. I think at this point, just the market value gap between Jaden Daniels and Drake May is so significant that we're going to have Daniels at the top. But Drake May, we are very confident in Drake May, and he only went one pick after Jaden Daniels in the NFL draft. We are going to hold our ground with this one and say that he's in the same tier as Jaden Daniels. I think both of them are just as likely to succeed as the other. They're both in disgusting situations, and sandwiched between them is going to be Malik Neighbors. I think Malik Neighbors, obviously, if he was in a better situation, would probably be in the same tier as Marvin Harrison Jr. because they only went like 2 or 3 picks apart. They were both pretty much equivalent wide receiver prospects. I'm super pumped to see what he's able to do in an offense that I know is disgusting, but I know he's going to be able to elevate it. And I trust Brian Daboll as an offensive play caller when Tommy DeVito isn't your quarterback. So Daniels, Neighbors, and May going to be the A tier.
And when you're looking at May here, drop the headlines in here, Luke. There's a chance that May starts week 1. That's why we're putting him in this tier. It does not matter. Even if he doesn't start week 1,
talk about off-season antics and just like making a big deal out of nothing with Drake May. Not only the franchise, but everyone in Dynasty, everyone being Drake May doubters. And it's like, you know what? At the end of the day, if Drake May busts and he isn't good, whatever. Like more than half of first round quarterbacks bust. Well, over half end up busting. But like with Drake May, we should have seen this coming all along. He's the cheapest top 3 rookie pick option in a Superflex league. Like it's ridiculous that he even had this many questions going into the NFL season.
Yeah, and so again, it's pretty obvious even if he doesn't start week 1, he's the highest upside quarterback there by far.
Correct.
By a long shot, so don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Take Drake May everywhere you can. Trade for Drake May, as I'd even go as
Please
far as
do.
saying that.
He's been a big buy for us all offseason.
Let's go to the B tier here. Rome Odunze, Xavier Worthy, Brock Bowers, and Brian Thomas Jr. I moved these tiers around as you were talking a little bit. I like all of these guys pretty much equivalent right now. Rome Odunze is a wide receiver 3 on his own team, at least to start the year. Rome Odunze will probably be the wide receiver 2 on his team as soon as, probably the middle of the season, I think. But right now, you're probably not getting a ton of immediate production from Rome Odunze. Xavier Worthy is a guy you probably are getting immediate production from. Xavier Worthy is a guy, now I will say this. You could put Odunze here in a tier of his own and drop these other guys down and move everybody down a tier, and that would be fine with me. For the sake of the tier list and how it's built, I'm going to put all these guys in the same tier because we don't have enough tiers to do that. But honestly, I'd probably take Odunze over all these guys pretty easily. And then I'm taking Worthy, Bowers, and Brian Thomas Jr. all here equivalently. Worthy, again, a guy that has showed out in the preseason playing with Patrick Mahomes, fastest man on the planet. There's no reason not to be excited about him in Dynasty Fantasy Football. No reason at all. He's playing on the best quarterback in the NFL, on one of the best teams in the NFL, for one of the best coaches in the NFL. And he's the fastest dude on the planet.
And he's already cooking people, so just get ready for it, man.
But what about press coverage? Brock Bowers, again, elite tight end. We freaked out about Brock Bowers a little bit after the draft. That's our bad. I don't think we freaked out. I think we just really didn't like the landing spot. And the reality is, I think we realized that Brock Bowers is a good enough talent to transcend that landing spot, right?
In fantasy, yeah. I think it was really hard to overlook how stupid of a pick it was for the Raiders as a franchise and as an organization when they had so many other needs.
True.
And it was tough
100%.
to look beyond that and just think about fantasy football and Dynasty Fantasy Football, where Bowers is probably going to be fine.
Yeah. And so Brian Thomas Jr. here, I think Brian Thomas Jr. could be the one in Jacksonville. I love Christian Kirk. We're Christian Kirk fans. I've always been, since the day we started this podcast, I've always been a Christian Kirk fan. And I'm telling you, Brian Thomas is good enough to be the one there. Easily. He could take Christian Kirk's job as the one, out-target him, outperform him, out-fantasy score him, all of it. All three of these guys here, Worthy, Bowers, Brian Thomas Jr., you feel really good not only about their future dynasty value, but their immediate production for your dynasty team. And so I like all these guys. I know Odunze at the top of this tier because Odunze is Odunze. In my opinion, had he gone anywhere else, he could be up in the A tier with all of those guys.
Yeah, and I honestly think silence can sometimes be the best case scenario for a rookie prospect like Brian Thomas Jr. when you're trying to look for really good values in dynasty before the season starts. You've had absolutely no news about Brian Thomas. Zero. You haven't heard a thing, and that doesn't mean it's good, and that doesn't mean it's bad, but that also means his value's been consistent, and there's honestly kind of consistently dipped just a little bit as well because you've got a lot of noise around Worthy. You got a lot of noise around Bowers. You got a lot of noise around Odunze getting the ball thrown to him by Caleb Williams. And Brian Thomas Jr. has kind of just been where he's been, and his draft capital is undeniable. It's really, really solid. And I think he could end up potentially being one of the steals of your rookie drafts if you were able to get him like at the 110 or 109 to the 112 range in Superflex drafts back in April. At the C tier, at the top, we're going to have JJ McCarthy. We're also going to have Jonathan Brooks and Bo Nix. Bo Nix, probably one of the biggest winners in preseason this year. He has looked really, really good for Denver. He finally got the starting job, earned it. JJ McCarthy at the top of this tier. Look, nothing has changed with this situation. Nothing has changed with our expectation of JJ McCarthy in 2024. Let me repeat that. Nothing has changed about our expectations for what JJ McCarthy was going to do in 2024. That was that he would score 0 points and sit on the bench. He was not ready to go. He was not ready to play. And if you think that he was going to play at the second half of the season, all power to you. That's totally fine. He still wasn't going to contribute to you winning a fantasy championship this year. Yep. So get over it. Get over the meniscus tear. He'll be able to sit on the bench all year, recover, rehab, get mental reps, and get better as an NFL professional. Mm-hmm. Yep. He's still on the best one of the better offenses in the NFL with an incredible play caller in Kevin O'Connell, going to be throwing the ball to Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and TJ Hawkinson. You could not ask for a better situation. Get ready for JJ McCarthy to be one of the biggest buys in the middle of the season in 2024. Jonathan Brooks, coming back from the ACL tear, it's going to be slow. They're going to ease him in. They invested second-round draft capital in a running back, the Carolina Panthers did, when they have so many other needs and they are so depleted. They went out of their way to go get him and heavily invest in him. So get ready for him to get a bell cow workload and to be a pretty valuable running back heading into 2025. And then Bo Nix, again, I already mentioned him. He's had a really good preseason. Is a ceiling capped? Potentially. I think people are overlooking how mobile he could be in an offense where he's can play very well within structure. And he also has the ability to make plays happen out of structure as well. I think he's one of the most underrated overall well-rounded quarterback prospects easily in this class. So don't keep shorting Bo Nix, please. I love the pairing with Sean Payton there.
All right, in the D's tier here, we're going to start with Ladd McConkey. Obviously, the wide receiver one in the Chargers offense, as it appears, and with Ladd McConkey, you're thinking, okay, is this guy going to actually produce this year at a high level? I think the answer is he could. With Justin Herbert playing with one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL in a Jim Harbaugh offense and a Greg Roman offense where people are like, yeah, they're going to run the ball. They're going to run the ball. They're going to run the ball. I think Ladd could get a lot of work. I think he's a guy who is pretty versatile when you're talking about where he's lined up on the field. And I think that a lot of things are going to have to play out right for him to be really productive this year, but I think it's possible. And I think he's going to have a ton of value insulation just because the situation there is so dang bad that if he doesn't do anything, people are going to blame it on the situation. Mm-hmm. So you have value insulation there. Keon Coleman, I think this is one people will be less patient with, right? Because he's in a better situation. He's playing with one of the best quarterbacks in the entire NFL with the Buffalo Bills, projected to be a top 5 offense. And Keon Coleman, for all intents and purposes, is the wide receiver one there, in my opinion. Shakir is limited. Samuel, we know what he is. Coleman is the guy you don't know about. He's the question mark, and I think a lot of people are speculating that he could be the wide receiver one there this year. With Coleman, I'm less confident that his value maintains if he completely lays an egg this season, right? I mean, I think there are some receivers that just get that treatment. With Coleman, I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't produce this season. As far as what you're doing with him in Dynasty, I think you have to hold. I think the upside alone and the situation alone means you just hold at this price. I don't think the price is good enough to be like, yeah, if he hits, then I'm fine. I feel like if he hits, you lose pretty bad. 6th, 7th round price in Dynasty, you lose if he hits. Like, I mean, this is this is pretty bad. You're not getting a ton back in a trade for Keon Coleman to make it worth it, like moving off of him and diversifying some of your assets there.
Right.
And so with Coleman, I'm not sure. He's very raw, but he's in one of the best situations in the NFL. And so with that being said, he should be ranked here with Ladd McConkey. Both of these guys could be wide receiver ones in their rookie year.
Get ready for that QJ label when he doesn't do anything for the first 4 weeks of the season.
It's coming. And it's going to go one of two ways. There's going to be Keon Coleman's going to be in the B tier for most people's rankings for rookies within 4 weeks.
Or he's going to be in the H tier.
Yep.
Like, seriously.
No, there's no in between.
No in between.
There's no in between.
F tier, you're going to see a common denominator here. All guys that have a ways to go before they get really relevant fantasy productive opportunity in their offense. Michael Penix, he's playing behind a $100 million quarterback. He also was the 8th overall pick in the NFL draft over J.J. McCarthy and Bo Nix. He was the 4th quarterback drafted in the NFL draft this year. Like, he is going to get his opportunity at some point with that investment. Trey Benson is literally James Conner's replacement, and he will be the number one guy, next man up, if and when James Conner goes down with injury for a few weeks this season. It's only a matter of time for Benson. He fell further than most people expected him in drafts, not just the Dynasty community, like scouts that actually know what they were doing were like, why did he fall this far? A.D. Mitchell has been showing some stuff in preseason. He's looked pretty solid. Josh Downs going down with the injury. At the end of the day, Josh Downs is going to come back healthy. Michael Pittman's going to get 150 targets, and Anthony Richardson's going to run the ball, and Jonathan Taylor's going to run the ball. A.D. Mitchell, at the end of the day, doesn't have a huge avenue to be ultra productive this year and just blow everyone away from a production perspective. But long term, kind of like his outlook in a Shane Steichen offense. Jalen Polk has the upside to be the number one option in New England. It kind of is entirely dependent on if Drake May is going to start. When is he going to start? What's Jacoby Brissett going to do? What's that offense overall going to look like with Alex Van Pelt as the OC, who has major questions as a play caller himself? We just don't really know. But with the early second round draft capital, you got to trust that draft capital. You got to trust the team investment and the fact that he is pretty much the most talented wide receiver prospect in that offense. Xavier Legette playing behind Deontay Johnson. Jonathan Mingo still in the mix there. And then a running game of Chuba Hubbard and Jonathan Brooks when he comes back healthy. Bryce Young obviously has a lot of apparent deficiencies, or maybe he just wasn't able to do anything last year because he was constantly under pressure. But he is going to be able to push the ball downfield more than he ever has been able to, because they didn't have anyone to push the ball downfield to last year. Xavier Legette could be that guy. Look for him to be a little bit boom bust, but show some flashes this year as well. And then Jalen McMillan, by far the biggest riser, the biggest rookie riser with all of the preseason news. He is going to be a starter day one. He earned it, man. Day 2 pick, went in the 3rd round. He earned it. Todd Bowles is obsessed with him. He loves him. And McMillan, when he was originally thought to kind of be Chris Godwin's backup, Chris Godwin's replacement, he is now going to be playing alongside Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. Going to get some opportunity in that offense potentially day 1.
And just so you know, Jalen McMillan, when you're looking at this particular video and this particular thumbnail, was the cover player of a video we called Buy These Dynasty Rookies Before They Go Way Up in Price. And what the frick happened? Subscribe to Dynasty Domain if you haven't. $15K by opening day. Let's go to the G tier here. Ricky Pearsall, Brandon Ayuk, he is staying in San Francisco, and Ricky Pearsall at that point is effectively the 5th option in a very good offense.
Francisco.
But it's all, yeah, that's fun to say. But it's also, not a fantasy relevant path for Ricky Pearsall this year. So unless one of Debo or Ayuk leaves in the next couple of years, which Debo could leave next year, then it's probably not looking anything great there. Blake Corum. Blake Corum is a little bit overhyped in my opinion in terms of what he's expected to do this year. If Kyren Williams is healthy, Kyren Williams is the lead workhorse back in LA. There's no question about it.
You know what Blake Corum's value floor is this year?
What?
It's Kendre Miller. If Alvin Kamara played the entire season, which he did in 2023 when he came back healthy, Kendre Miller fell in value. Now, some of that was injury, obviously, but it just, if Kyren Williams plays the entire season, get ready for it, guys. He's not going to be any more valuable than this, and it might even be tough to see him maintain his value. It's kind of TBD.
Yeah, it is honestly kind of TBD. And then Ben Sinnott. Ben Sinnott is not the tight end one in theory yet in Washington. We think he's going to be the tight end one. I mean, I think it's a guy that obviously has some questions, but they spent a second round pick on him. I mean, there is absolutely no chance that they're going to roll out there and Ben Sinnot's not going to be the tight end one at some point in the year, in my opinion. And so because of that, I think Ben Sinnott is still a guy that projects well in Dynasty this year. I think he's going to gain a lot of Dynasty value as soon as he gets on the field as a tight end one and he starts scoring any fantasy points at all.
Yep, H tier, we got a bunch of backups here. We got a bunch of guys that are in bad offenses, guys that are behind alphas. We've got Jalen Wright, who's in a 4-back committee, but they drafted him for a reason. They traded up for him in the 4th round. Very interested to see what he could potentially do this year. Some people suspect that he's just going to be Raheem Mostert's long-term replacement. That is absolutely relevant. He could be, looking from the sidelines a lot this season, but would I be shocked if McDaniel found a way to implement him into that offense in the run game because he loves his 4-back committees? I wouldn't be shocked at all. He's got a lot of speed and a lot of athleticism as well. Marshawn Lloyd, it's ugly, man. There's a lot of noise around Marshawn Lloyd. His big knock against him coming into the NFL was his lack of vision at USC, but he's incredibly explosive, and his skill set in the receiving game is very translatable to the NFL in theory. So if he can find his way into that offense and, just slightly see the field better, then, playing alongside Josh Jacobs, I think they drafted him to potentially be the next Aaron Jones. They really did in Green Bay. Then we're going to have Roman Wilson and Jermaine Burton. We like both of these guys and what they could eventually be in their offenses given better situations. Roman Wilson needs a better quarterback. Jermaine Burton needs T. Higgins to leave. It looks like Yoshivasa is going to be the slot guy getting reps over Jermaine Burton while he sort of develops because he was more of a project receiver. Roman Wilson is going to be an exclusive slot guy in an offense that is just abysmal. So maybe Roman Wilson, honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if Roman Wilson just straight up outproduces Burton this year. TBD. Burton has a higher ceiling long term.
TDB.
Malachi Corley, I think is going to get a decent amount of usage with Aaron Rodgers. It just is... that offense overall is very questionable. I don't know what Mike Williams is going to offer there. He's coming back fully healthy. I don't know how many targets Breece Hall is really going to command there, if it's going to be 100 or if it's going to be like 60 or 70, because that will definitely eat into Malachi Corley's workload. He's more of a slot guy. He can do a lot of stuff in the backfield, and then he's a yak guy. So it also depends on how healthy Aaron Rodgers is and how comfortable is he pushing the ball downfield, or is he going to have to do more checkdowns. Tyron Tracy could easily be the lead running back there when it's all said and done in New York. Devin Singletary kind of is what he is. He's a good running back, has good vision. He's a smart guy, but he's not incredible really at anything. Tyron Tracy could earn his way into the lead role there. And we kind of survived a scare with that ankle injury in preseason.
And then this last year, guys, here is just going to be kind of a throw them in here because they still have dynasty value tier. Braylon Allen has solidified himself, it looks like, as their running back 2 in the New York Jets offense, which is great. The problem is he's probably not going to get a ton of fantasy production. There's not a single valuable touch that Breece Hall won't be getting in that offense. Kamani Vidal, he rested with the Chargers' key players of the night, which is great. It does still look like he's behind Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins. Still buy Vidal because what are the odds that both Edwards and Dobbins, or at least one of them, gets hurt? I would say 99.999%. Will Shipley is a guy that you've seen a little bit of preseason action from as well. He's going to make the roster, so hold him in the event that he does become the running back 2 there or something like that. You've got Carson Steele now, who's going to make his appearance on this list. And Carson Steele, obviously Center Grove kid, represent. Grew up, literally went to high school 9 minutes from where I live. But looks like in classic Andy Reid fashion, he's going to give the running back 2 job to an undrafted rookie.
How shocking.
Who would have guessed?
He would never
What's
do that.
Funny
never.
Is we came on and said, stash these players on your dynasty roster.
He's going to pay Pacheco $15 million a year when it's all said and done. Come on, man. It's fine.
So... we had these guys on the stash video. We said, Deneric Prince, whatever. All these guys, make sure you roster them because Andy Reid...
Zemet?
And Luis Reese Zamit. And all of those guys are guys, it's like, okay, the Kansas City Chiefs could give them the running back 2. That's what Andy Reid does. And of course, he went even more obscure than what we were projecting in a stash video on Dynasty. That's classic Kansas City.
Yep.
Andy Reid right there. Troy Franklin hasn't done anything in the preseason. Doesn't look like he's going to have an impact there. You're holding him because, you have hope, but we told you. I won't victory lap yet. I will say it looks pretty much like it's going to play out exactly how we thought it would with Troy Franklin. Javon Baker, I like a lot more than Troy Franklin, and I think you can buy low on Javon Baker if you really believe in the skill set. He's been a little bit shaky during the preseason. Audric Esme made the roster. They cut McLaughlin, right?
Yes. They cut P. Ryan.
They cut P. Ryan. So he's on the roster. So we'll see. I think it's wide open there, honestly. So we'll see. And then McCaffrey, you just had the Dotson trade, and then they have a wide receiver they just drafted.
One less guy to worry about.
It honestly is. And with McCaffrey, I still think like he's still not listed on the depth chart as a guy that's going to be a starter there. And that is, a little bit like, but it's a combination of, hey, they spent a 3rd round pick on him, and hey, it was the Commanders, so who gives a crap?
Hey, remember about just taking your worries and throwing him the curb?
Here's a little song I wrote. All right. That's the last one.
Don't worry, guys.
That's going to be the last time I think we rank these rookies.
Just
Unless
be
we
happy.
do it, we can do it one more maybe in season or maybe sometime in the off season. We can rank these rookies again, but like this is probably
2025 at that point.
It's
People are gonna be
2025
begging for
season,
2025.
baby. So congratulations.
This is the last time. Enjoy it.
If you're a rookie and you're on this list and you're watching this video, if you're not a rookie and you're not on this list but you're still watching this video, make sure you do one thing for me: subscribe to get us to 15K before opening day on our Dynasty channel. We love you guys. We appreciate all of you. You've helped us get to this point. We're going to continue putting out Dynasty videos for you. I will say right now, Dynasty is going to slow down a little bit during the season. There's less to talk about on a week-to-week basis because values don't fluctuate, or they shouldn't.
We will be here for you, though.
But we will be here. We're going to be on Discord. We'll answer any questions you have, and we will be putting out some videos. Just they're going to be spaced out, no more than one a week at max, probably once every 2 weeks or so, just to kind of get checked in on guys you should be pursuing or how you should be, kind of building your teams throughout the season. So we appreciate you guys. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you later.